Hello and welcome back to Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Justice for All. In the last episode, we began the cross-examination of Ben and Trillo, Trillo being the puppet and Ben being the ventriloquist, and we got a bunch of information about their supposed witnessing of Maximillion Galactica arriving at the scene of the crime. But we're going to get an updated testimony, so let's see what he has to say. I'll give you that I was waiting that night for Regina, but that doesn't change the fact that I saw Max in the plaza that night. He showed up after I'd been waiting there for about 5 minutes. I said good evening to him, but he didn't even acknowledge my presence. I'm absolutely sure it was him. I saw Maximillion Galactica at the scene. There's no way I could mistake someone wearing those ridiculous 3 symbols. Yeah, I'm trying to go a little faster because I think Trillo's dialogue just goes faster, just based on how fast his text goes. But it's a little tough. So that means that Money didn't show up until after you saw Max. That's right, Money ran up less than a minute after I saw Max. Then Money snatched the ring and you went chasing after him. How long was it until you came back to where you were waiting? Well, let's see, I'd say about, I suppose, 5 minutes, I think. So the victim could have arrived on the scene in that 5-minute stretch. Mr. Wright, please proceed with your cross-examination. Alright, let's see what we got. I was waiting that night for Regina. Why didn't he tell us before? So you were only concerned with waiting for Regina that night. That means you probably wouldn't have noticed if someone else showed up. You should think about how many eyes I actually have. I've got 4, you know. 4. F-O-U-R. Counting Ben, of course. With that many eyes, do you really think something would have slipped by me? 4 eyes is an awful lot of attention directed at one area, I suppose. Yikes, the judge is even more dangerous to our case than Trillo. That doesn't change the fact that I saw Max in the plaza. He showed up after I'd been waiting there. About what time would you say these events took place? You're one of the dumbest people on the planet if you can't figure that out for yourself. You already know that practice finished promptly at 10 p.m. And you already know that I went to the lodging house right after practice. You don't need to be a brain surgeon to know around what time it was when I saw him. Just add 10 more minutes. I'm sure you can do that. Now, what time was it? Indeed, what time was it? What time was it? Let me think about that for a second. It was 10:10 p.m. Yes, that sounds about right. It sounds about right because that's the time I saw Max on the scene. Good evening. Yeah, no, I guess good evening is the right thing. For some reason, when I was a kid, I thought good afternoon and good evening were like interchangeable. So, for some reason, it still strikes me as a little weird when people say good evening, like at 10 p.m. So you testified that you said good evening to Max that night. You must enjoy asking incredibly obvious questions. You say good morning in the morning and good afternoon during the day, right? And it's obvious that I'd say good night to someone at night. What, Ben? You've got something to add? Let me guess. That's not it, Trillo. You say good evening at night. I'm sorry, Trillo. Mr. Quist, I would prefer if you kept your ventriloquist act outside of the courtroom. Impossible. A performer lives and breathes his performances. You should know better. There's gotta be something wrong with this bit of testimony. Trillo's evening greeting? Isn't that a bit strange for you? What do you mean? Well, if you hate Max so much, why would you bother being nice to him? It strikes me as somewhat strange. Why would it strike you as strange? Exactly. How is it strange to be cordial to one of your coworkers? Well, if it was simply just being cordial to a coworker, I'd understand. Maybe you should think of having some proof before your lips start flapping next time. Proof is everything in this world. You should have learned that back in grade school. There's no reason that Trillo would ever say something nice to Max. But how do I go about proving that with evidence? Loving is everything in this world, but I'm sure you already learned that one. I guess I can give it a shot. The witness will resume his testimony. Some of the scene. 3 symbols. What were the symbols? Those 3 ridiculous symbols, huh? Out of curiosity, exactly how many times have you asked that question by now? If you're going to ask again, I'll answer with the chorus. Everyone together now. Silk hat, cloak, white roses. Thank you very much. Maya, you didn't have to join in, did you? But it's fun shouting out with everyone else. There has to be a hole in his testimony somewhere. I agree, but do we have the proof to make something stick? All we can do is try, right, Nick? We've got to have something that will prove useful. Alright. Time to go to work. Waiting for Gina. Good evening to him, but he didn't acknowledge my presence. Okay. So here, I say good evening. Why would you say good evening to him when your relationship is not good and we need proof of their relationship not being good? Which has got to be the broken bottle, because Max hit Ben over the head with the bottle over their dispute over Regina. There we go. Trillo, is it not true that you had a fight with Max on the day of the murder? A fight? A fight over Regina, to be exact. It wasn't that big of a deal. It was just an argument. A disagreement at most. A disagreement usually doesn't end with someone getting clonked over the head. That morning, Ben got clobbered over the head by Max, didn't he? What? Is that an admission of assault and battery? Before we handle that, we should wrap up the defendant's murder charge first. The truth is, on the day of the crime, the defendant and the witness had a huge fight. There's absolutely no way that they would have suddenly become cordial by the evening. Moreover, just consider the personality of the witness on stand. There's no way a puppet this lewd would just up and say good evening to his rival. Are you saying this witness is lying? That he is trying to frame the defendant by claiming to have seen him at the scene of the crime? I didn't tell a single lie. Honestly, I just... That's enough from you, Mr. Quist. Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. Let's clarify this testimony for the court. Could you explain your theory about who the witness actually saw that night? We don't want to say that, because that'll be an admission of guilt. He didn't see anyone. The judge did believe that he had two sets of eyes, so he'd be like doubly vigilant, so he doubts that he mistakenly saw something, so it's probably he saw a different person. It is my belief that the witness did indeed see someone that night. It was just someone else. That's who he said good evening to. What kind of theory is that? The correct one. Furthermore, I don't believe the person the witness saw was Max at all. What? If he had truly met Max that night, there would have been no greeting at all. Which means there's only one proper answer. The person the witness saw that night was not Maximillion Galactica. That is why Trillo made the effort to greet whoever it was he saw that evening. Or good evening, as he put it. What in the world? You... Would the defense kindly explain who it was Trillo saw that evening, then? We haven't even talked about Mo in a while. Russell and Regina... Let's go with Russell. I don't think the body type fits. If anything, Regina is more the proper body type, but let's go with Russell. Considering the ill temper of this witness, there's only one person he would greet. Oh, yeah, because my second thought was that it was Regina, but if Trillo saw Regina, then he probably would have just proposed then, because that's who he was waiting for. It must be Regina. It's Regina, right? She's so cute. No, Your Honor, it's not Regina. If it was Regina, exactly. If it was Regina, Trillo would have given her the engagement ring as a present. Oh, yeah, I suppose you've got a point there. It was... It's so funny that the music cut out, the judge said something stupid and then cut back in. There's a lot of subtle humor like that, like in terms of like the editing, or not editing, but you know, the music in this game, or sound effects rather. It was Russell Barry, the victim himself, was it not? You're correct, it was indeed Russell Barry. The person you saw that evening was the victim, the ringmaster, Russell Barry. That's why you greeted him, Trillo. Isn't that correct? Answer the question, Mr. Quist. Order. How do you respond to this? Wait a second. Well, at first I thought it was the old man, but once I got a better look at him, it was obviously Maximillion Galactica. I think it is high time that we cleared the area about this question. Mr. Quist obviously witnessed a single person in the area of the plaza that evening. The problem is identifying exactly who that person was. Was it Maximillion Galactica, or was it the ringmaster, one Mr. Rustoberry? The prosecution argues that it was the defendant that the witness saw that night. The witness has clearly stated that he saw the defendant's 3 symbols. 3 symbols? Alright, this is getting old. Come on, man, you gotta remember them by now. Here we go again. Everyone, all together now. Yes, we know. The silk hat, cloak, and white roses. A silk hat and a cloak. Anyone could wear them. They'd even look good on me. Yeah, I can see, especially the roses and the cloak. We should get a cloak. I think that'd be pretty cool. What was that? Well, the witness has endlessly repeated that he saw Max's 3 symbols. However, how do we really know that it was Maximillion Galactica? It could have been someone else dressed up as him. Possibly even Russell Berry. What? Miss Von Karma, do you have clear evidence that the person the witness saw was the defendant? Well, If that's the case, then it is impossible for me to make a judgment at this point. Yes, I think we finally won a point in this one. That is very unfortunate. Huh? You're just a little too excited for your own good, Mr. Phoenix Wright. What do you mean by that? You merely established one thing from this witness. You established that the witness saw one person in the plaza that night. I applaud you on your effort, but... But? Who that person was can only be answered by the next witness. Huh? Your Honor, the prosecution will provide beyond a shadow of a doubt an answer to that question and clearly establishes one thing. Or an evidence that clearly establishes one thing. That there is no one other than Maximillion Galactica responsible for this crime. Very well. The court will take a 10-minute recess. During that time, I request the prosecution prepare their next witness. Court is now in recess. Alright, so we thought we had the upper hand, but it looks like, of course, as Von Karmas do, they tend to clap back. But yeah, we will see who the next witness is in the next episode. Probably Mo the Clown. Yeah, I doubt they bring up Regina, so it's probably going to be Mo. But yeah, we'll have to see in the next episode. So until then, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you then.